I'm getting ready to go on my first business trip in quite a long time. I feel a little bit out of practice. I travel a fair amount for work. This year, I haven't, most of my trips have been one night, maybe 2 nights, but for the first time in quite a while, I'm going away for just under a week. And I looked around today and realized like my plants are not ready for me to be gone. The way I typically care for my plants is I just do everything on a very sort of unstructured basis, right? It's all a bit loosey-goosey. And I just sort of saunter through the apartment going by how I'm feeling, and I touch the plants and I see how everybody's doing, and I just give them what they need, right? You know, I just have a look at the soil and I water who needs watering, do some wiping, check for pests, but none of these things are done on a schedule, you know, I just do them as and when. Of course, this is great, but the downside is when I go away, if I haven't prepped the plants properly, they will suffer if it's for something like a week, just because, you know, some people will need watering, and, you know, there are so many of them. My husband's not going to know what to do. It's better if I can leave him very detailed instructions. He's the type of person that likes to hear, water this plant, give it this amount of water on this day at this time. So, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous because I haven't done what I should have done in terms of prep. But I'm going to try to remedy that before I go, at least for the plants in the living room. I'm going to try to do a couple of chores before I go because I just think it will make it easier. So some of the plants that are drying out incredibly quickly, I thought maybe I would give them a quick repot. That way they can hold a bit more moisture. So I'll repot 1 or 2. We'll do that today. I foolishly, without thinking about the timing, had ordered a couple of plants and they've arrived. So I'll open that box and, you know, water them. I'll probably stick them in the tent just because I'll be gone for a week and I won't be here to see if they're struggling to adapt to the apartment. Better for me to put them in a controlled environment like the tent. So I'll clean them up quickly and shove them in the tent. Probably use that opportunity to water everything that's in the tent so that everybody is, you know, well watered while I'm gone. And yeah, we can just get on with it. So let me cut straight to the chase and stop all the yakking. Why don't we start with opening the plant milk? In true me fashion, this is from the Green Escape. I've really reduced how many plants I buy. I don't want to be, you know, I'm conscious of not over consuming plants either, right? I don't want to buy plants just to buy them, which, you know, is such an easy habit to fall into. And I'm in the process of curating this space and just really looking through the plants and seeing what I really like and what I don't like anymore, because obviously my tastes have changed over the years, but there are some quite noticeable gaps. So my goal right now is to fill in the gaps, and where there's a plant that I think will look good in that space, I'll buy it. I think because I'm someone who buys plants quite small, I'm trying to think about, you know, what they'll look like when they grow up. How do I want to change the nature of the space? Because some of these plants have been in their respective corners for a really long time. So there are some corners in the apartment that I love the way they look, and there are some others that I feel they're a little on the basic side. So that's what I'm doing right now, just trying to fix the things that I don't really care for as much as I can, and just set them up so that like in a year from now, I'll be blown away by the vistas I've created. Okay, so these 2 plants are, I think, the last 2. I say that all the time, don't I? But honestly, I think these 2 really do fulfill a desire that I've had for quite some time. So I think adding them should complete, like I should have just about everything in here that I'm interested in having for the most part. And then it's just a matter of how I arrange things as they grow. Okay, these are the plants. Now, we all know that with the Green Escape, these are tiny. They always come super teeny tiny. So it's about what I do, you know, looking at them when they're so teeny and figuring out just what they'll grow up to look like. That's the exciting part. So this one is a philodendron. It's a philodendron, and what is hilarious is just the other day I was talking about how I think I'm done buying all philodendrons. What do? Pop out there and buy a philodendron. I guess it turns out that there was one more philodendron that I wanted. Okay. This is she, Philodendron Spiritus Sancti. So I have I have a Spiritus Sancti hybrid. Philodendron Amazon Spirit, which is a hybrid of Philodendron Spiritus Sancti and Philodendron Patriciae. I have that one growing up on a moss pole, and I really like the way it's growing. And I just kind of decided that I was going to get an actual Spiritus Sancti. I've seen these grow quite big quite quickly. What I want to do is put it in this corner where I have my Alocasia Regal Shields. This Alocasia Regal Shields has been here for quite a long time now, and I don't know, overall I'm just not very happy with the way this corner looks. I think I'm a bit bored of it. I think it's been just static for so long that I'm ready to switch it up. I have thoughts about maybe putting my Monstera constellation where the Alocasia is, but I'm not sure whether the Tycon would be happy all the way in that corner, or whether it prefers to be right up against the window like it is now. So we'll see. I'm still thinking about it. That being said, I do know that I want a Spiritus Sancti here in some capacity or the other. So here it is. Obviously it's too tiny to proper go there right now, but I think it will. I've heard these size up very quickly, so I will. My plan is to put it somewhere there to there-ish, sort of sooner rather than later. But obviously, because I'm not going to be here and I'm going on this trip, I'll pop this guy into a pot and shove him in the grow tent, and he'll just hang out there for now. And then, probably in a couple of weeks or something, I'll put him out here in the main jungle. So that's number one. And then the second one is an anthurium, which is more my speed. As you know, I'm an anthurium person. Let's see what this one looks like. The trouble with all these plants is they're all just going to look exactly the same. Not very exciting when they're tiny because they just really all look alike. I'll have to do better about labeling my plants so that I don't get confused, because I think that's bound to happen soon. And here she is. This one is an Anthurium wendlingeri. How do you say it? Wendlingeri? Wendlingeri? Anyway, this is a wendlingeri. This is another one of those pendant strap leaf anthuriums, but this is the ultimate one. Ooh, that feels... I have a lot of these strap leaf anthuriums. I have Anthurium sobronii, Anthurium viterifolium, Anthurium friedrichstahli, Anthurium pallidiflorum, my current absolute favorite. But like this wendlingeri, I have wanted one for ages, but I just thought it would be completely out of reach financially because they are quite expensive. But then I found this tiny baby one and on the Green Escape, and I had to buy it. It was it wasn't expensive, it was quite cheap. This and the Spiritus Sancti were very reasonable, but look how tiny it is. The interesting thing is though, like I said, I grow a few of these strap leaves. This one feels really different. The leaves are very firm compared to Pallidiflorum. I mean, they're almost like hard rubber. Interesting. Very, very interesting. It feels like it would be a really hardy plant. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these grow in this space. Cute. Because I'm going to be gone for a week, I do need to pop these into pots. I can't just leave them to do their own thing in my absence, unfortunately. I have to pot them up, which is quite annoying. I don't have much time, and if I have time to pot them up, but I'm gonna try. So yeah, I'll pot these up and pop them in the grow tent, and they should be okay while I'm gone. I ended up potting them up slightly differently just to account for the different types of plants. For the philodendron, I went with the pre-mixed Molly's Aroid mix. I thought this would give it the best chance of adapting properly. For the Wendlingery, I mixed the Aroid mix with tree fern, about 50-50, just to help it settle in. Once I was done with this, I realized I didn't have much time left, so I dropped everything and ran off to the airport. I ended up in sunny San Diego, which was not so sunny after all. Beautiful plant life everywhere, delicious food, and honestly, it was nice to eat and drink and be able to hear myself think without the chaos of home. But then again, you really do become used to it and you miss it when you're away from it. So while I was happy to be here, I was missing the kids. I will say my hotel was absolutely gorgeous and they got the memo about the plants. I mean, the room was absolutely stunning, like really comfortable and relaxing. But my favorite thing about it was this insanely gorgeous courtyard that was accessible right from my room. My favorite place to pop down and have a coffee every day. I'm finally back. And while it was really nice to spend a week in San Diego, I don't know, I'm just glad to be back in my apartment with all my plant babies. Now, my exit was a little bit rushed to say the least. I think I just didn't plan my time very well, and I definitely didn't get around to doing any of the chores that I intended to do before I left. We should have a look and see how the plants are faring in my absence. I also asked my people to water these guys and they did not. I've probably got lots of rehabilitating to do of the various plants. Luckily, the humidity in here is a little bit higher than it typically is in winter, so I think that helps, you know, along with like really long sunny days. It's just some of them are looking a bit parched. Anyway, I think first things first, let's check in on the new additions to the jungle. After I potted them up, the smart thing to do was to leave them in the grow tent. Not because I think they need to grow in the tent, by the way, but knowing that I was going to be away for a week and they had just been through sort of shipping and travel, I just thought best to keep them in there for them to recover. So I'm going to pull them out and see how they are doing. They might end up living in the tent a little bit longer while I figure out their final destinations within the jungle. Okay, I cheated a little bit and I watered them last night when I got in because I don't know, I just, my immediate thought was make sure those guys are okay. So I gave them a little bit of water last night and here's how they're doing. This one, this is the Spiritus Sancti. It had the oldest leaf had turned yellow, so I pulled it off and threw it out. But look, it put this new leaf out while I was gone in a week, which is weird. I'm not sure if this is one of these things where this leaf was coming out. I don't remember if it was coming out before I left or if it just grew it and popped it out all in the space of time that I've been gone. If it just did this while I've been gone, then this might be a really fast grower and yeah, that'll be interesting. But the new leaf is really soft. It's not done hardening off yet. It's still juicy. Really beautiful actually. I think I'm gonna watch the roots a bit longer and leave it in the grow tent until I feel like the roots are looking decent, and then I'll pull it out and give it a moss pull and let it do its thing. And then the Wendlingeri. This one was a little bit drier than the Spiritus Sancti, and that's because it has more tree fern than the other one. The other one is just in straight aroid mix. So there's a yellow leaf, which I'm pulling off, dried out, this tiny yellow one. But look, this also has a new leaf. Now, I don't know if it was already putting that out before I left or if it's completely taken place in my absence, but I'm pretty happy about it. I can see one of the roots around the little sort of peat pocket ball it came with, and it looks quite green, so I think the plant is happy. I mean, nothing says joy like a new leaf anyway. So I think both the new additions are doing just peachy, actually. My absence didn't affect them at all, so that's good. Here's how things are looking in the grow tent. Almost everything looks actually really good. Lots of beautiful green leaves everywhere. But of course, my Anthurium warocreanum ex Cyranoi is looking absolute garbage. A week. I've been gone a week and it completely suffered already. Here's my Anthurium waterberryanum. It's got a new leaf. The leaf looks beautiful, not a blemish in sight. I'm just putting the Spiritus Sancti and the Wenlingeri back in the grow tent. Okay, now while I was gone, this one is dry. This one did not get the water it needs, so it's leaning. It actually now needs a moss pole, to be honest. It's growing very L-shaped, very awkward. So again, I have to air layer it or give it a moss pole. Some of these leaves are pure trash due to mites and what have you. I'm definitely contemplating just like air layering it here and getting rid of everything below that level, just kind of starting again. The other philodendrons behind it are doing fine. They need a bit of water, but honestly, phillos are so resilient. That mican's over there, God knows when last I watered it. This one, this Anthurium is okay. It's a little on the dry side, so I'll just water that. Who else? Oh, this is the one. This is the one I was really worried about. Actually seems to have done okay. It needs a repot, my gosh. Desperate. I think I'm gonna be repotting this soon. It's also putting out an inflorescence, which is really annoying. Because like I just want her to, you know, recover and do better before she starts worrying about pregnancies and what have you. Excuse me, I don't need you to be a teen mom. Calm down. I'll probably repot this one soon, shortly in a different video. And then behind it is my Philodendron esplendii. Oh, that one, oh gosh. This one has pretty much really suffered in my absence. It has yellowed an entire leaf and the soil is bone dry. Hydrophobic almost. So this very seriously needs a repot, like immediately. I think I'll repot both of these in a separate video. I'm gonna get rid of this yellow leaf. I don't think it's the oldest leaf, but I definitely don't think it was ready to yellow. I think that was 100% my bad for not making sure it was going to get watered. It has obviously sacrificed that leaf. In fact, that wasn't the oldest leaf, so that's annoying. Anyway, I'm going to repot this and this one and the Anthurium as well. This is my Anthurium regale X luxurians. Like, I think this one has suffered the most in my absence. It's pretty upset and I need to figure out why. I don't know what's going on with this thing. It's struggling with some root damage. There's a little root rot. Okay, I'm probably gonna unpot this one, clean up the roots, and then pot it back up. Yeah, I'll have to have a look at it and see what's upsetting it so much. It's drastic, but I might consider cutting off those leaves and starting again. I mean, they don't look very good, so what's the point, right? I'll have to think about it. Something's not right in there. Surprisingly, this Frydek is fine. It's got a new leaf. Look at that, so pretty. This leaf is not, the variegation is looking kind of minty and not as creamy as it used to be. This is one of the ones that I separated in a previous video. It was massive growing in my room. I had, I think, ended up with 5 plants in the pot and it was just too much. So I separated them. This is one of them. And honestly, this is my favorite one. I love the pop of this one against that oxalis down there. I think it looks so good. It did just fine in my absence, really. It's good. Amazon Spirit, the Spiritus Sancti hybrid. This is a newish leaf. It's working on another one. This one's also fine. It's pretty dry. I'm gonna water it. It's an aggressive grower though. This Warocqueanum Esmeralda also is fine. Some crispy bits, but nothing crazy. It's actually growing, it's growing both a new leaf. It's growing a new leaf and an inflorescence, so it's been busy while I've been away. The philodendrons behind there are also okay. They look pretty dry, so I need to water them. Nobody has expired. Nobody's dead, so that's good. The begonia seems fine. The other interesting thing that happened while I was away is, look at my baby Watsoniana. It put out a new leaf. This one is significantly bigger than the previous one, so that's cute. This is one of those plants that I got from the Green Escape, and that's recently come out of the grow tent. It was dry as a bone when I got home, unfortunately. I watered it, it sucked it all up, so, but it doesn't seem to have suffered for it, so it's okay. Still, it needs water again. Yeah, look at this guy, new leaf. There's nothing like coming home to a new leaf. It's one of my favorite things. It's sort of like surprise. This one has suffered, dropped leaves. Everything is yellowing. Ugh, so annoying. I was definitely supposed to repot this one before I left. It is in mild distress. Just making sure there are no spider mites, because you know with alocasia, you know how that goes. So yeah, this one was really dry. I've given it a tiny bit of water. I'm going to water it some more. I actually need to separate these. There were two. I planted one in the pot and there are already three. Having more than two of these in here is not ideal for me. It's thirsty. They're going to compete for resources. I'm going to be separating these guys soon. This corner is all succulentish type stuff, so I knew they'd be fine. And sure they are dry, bone dry, and I'll water them later, but they're totally fine. This is my donkey tail. Look at all these new baby leaves. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything with the donkey tail before I left, and it doesn't look like it mattered. She's popping off. She's fine. This ficus is dry, needs water. This is another one of those fried eggs, and it is actually, this is my favorite. It's so beautiful. Look. It got a little burned while I was away because, no water for a week when it's right by the south window is crazy. But look at this plant lives in direct sunlight and it has no problem. South window sunlight, by the way, and it has the best coloring of any fried egg in this house. Just gorgeous. You just need to keep up with the water and of course the fertilizer because, it grows aggressively. But look at how beautiful its coloring is. I think it loves all the light and heat from this window. So yeah, it's doing quite well. Ithomatophilum sprucianum is actually growing a new leaf. I have no idea how many leaflets it's going to have. I'll get in there and count later. The rest of the succulents look okay. There's some watering needs to happen. The cactus is obviously fine flowering. I need to water it. This one, this one needs a repot, but it needed it before I left, so no change there. This corner, things are looking, I've got some work to do in this corner. Some things are yellowing. I don't know if that's spider mites or underwatering or roots or what. I have to have a look at this corner. This is the only area that has suffered in my absence. There's some crisping. It's also the hottest corner of the living room, so I should, if I was going to take care of one area before I left, this was it, and I didn't, so that is a mistake on my part. There's also a lot of yellowing here, so I suspect a massive spider mite infestation, which happens when plants are stressed, so makes sense. I think there's a little bit too much dryness in that corner. I need to water everything and probably repot them all. The Thai constellation, of course, is just doing her thing. She doesn't care. She's actually working on a new leaf, believe it or not. So yeah, that's a beast of a plant. Over here, unfortunately, my Calathea woodsetswixii was the victim of children and husbands playing rough, and it looks like someone snapped a few of its stems in half. So It's in self-watering, so it really didn't suffer on the watering front when I was gone. But it's not looking so hot, is it? I might have to prune it back quite a bit. And last but not least is the big guy. This is my Ace of Spades, Anthurium Ace of Spades X Puppy, and it is doing great. It actually is doing great. When I left, it was just starting to work on this new leaf. Like, first of all, this leaf is so stunning to me. It's like the size of my torso or something. But when I left, it was starting to work on this one, which is still floppy and soft, but look at the pink outline, so beautiful. And it's put up an inflorescence, which was not the case when I was home. So obviously this one has not suffered in my absence at all. And like the others, I'll probably just refresh its water because you know these leaves are massive. It drinks a lot of water. So I'm gonna refresh its water. This one was watered. My husband watered this one while I was gone, which explains why it's doing better than it's doing better than a lot of its friends. So yeah, this one's still looking good. Um, I wonder how big this leaf is going to get because is it going to match? Is it going to match the energy of its sibling? Sometimes when an inflow is coming in at the same time, the other leaf becomes smaller. So I don't know if this is going to be as big as my torso or not. It's pretty big already. I think next time I will endeavor to complete my chores before departure. I'll probably do them the day before instead of waiting the morning of. And hopefully I'll be able to show you how I actually truly prepare my plants when I'm going on a trip. I guess the moral of the story is a week is not that big of a deal. They'll be all right one way or the other. There are very few plants that will actually completely expire in a week. As you can see, my Cyranoi X Warocquianum is the only one that has truly, truly suffered, but that plant's a deadbeat anyway, so it is what it is.